All right, welcome back to another episode of Just Stories with BT. This 8-part season is all around recycled dreams, which is focusing on companies and people and CEOs who have used giving back as part of their business strategy. So we've talked to some CEOs who, are involved with all this different type of philanthropy. Then we've talked to some companies who are on the receiving end of that, which is another case today with Dan. So we've got Dan Shufelt, the CEO of Arizona Helping Hands, who changed my life in so many different ways. And I haven't been able to connect with him much in the last year. So I'm really excited to talk today. So welcome to the episode.
Hey, thank you, Brad. It's a pleasure to talk with you this morning.
Absolutely. So the way we're going to kick off this podcast episode is a little different from ones you may have been on before, because I know you're always on the news, you're always getting talked to because of the amazing things Arizona Helping Hands does. And so instead of me asking you to tell the audience about yourself and your history, I'm going to do it for you. Okay. Perfect. That way, we know you don't go on some 20-minute rant or tangent, which you wouldn't do anyways, but I'll just do it for you. Okay. And then after that, we can dive in. And I really want people to get to know the person behind the CEO and then have a chance to talk about why businesses need to start giving back if they are not doing it already. Sound good?
Sounds like a great plan.
All right, everybody. So here we go. This is Dan. So he was born and raised in Rochester, New York. He was child number 5 out of 8, which I want to get back to and talk to you about that. He grew up shoveling snow, mowing lawns for his first job. He even worked at a pool shop, so that's maybe where his love for accounting came about. So he ended up going to college at St. John Fisher University, where he got his BS in accounting. After that, he ended up moving out to Arizona in 1979 to work at a small tax firm. And over the next few years, he'd be a CPA for 3 different firms until he landed an awesome job being a real estate trust advisor or running a real estate trust. And during this time, he met Cheryl, his amazing wife. They had 2 kids and now 3 grandchildren, which is amazing. Congratulations. In 2000 was a big year for him because that's when he met Kathy Donaldson, who started Arizona Helping Hands, and he became a member of the board. And for 15 years served on the board up until 2014 when he stepped in as the temporary CEO just to help out. But obviously it was never temporary, and it became his life's mission and life's passion. So for the last 7 years, he's now been the CEO of Arizona Helping Hands, which helps so many kids in foster care in the Arizona area. It's unbelievable. And now here we are in 2021, and you're on the Just Stories podcast. So what did I miss?
I've reached the pinnacle, Brett.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're going down. I don't know which way. It's one.
Right.
So before we get into this, so I've got to know, what was that like being child number 5 out of 8?
So, I grew up, I was blessed. I grew up in a really loving family with two parents who were very involved. And were our mentors, our examples. And my parents, it was such a blessing to be part of this home environment. 8 kids, there's a whole lot of noise going on with 8 kids in the household. Those 8 kids were spread out over 20 years. So there's a huge age range. From my oldest sister to my baby brother, being number 5 out of 8, I always used to joke with my mom, who's both my parents are now deceased, but I always used to joke with my mom that she's the source of all my deep psychological problems because I was the forgotten child, number 5.
Yeah.
As number 5, I was born right before the second girl. So she, the attention was always on my younger sister, the little girl in the family. And but having that environment, just in a family atmosphere. My dad was a hardworking guy who was a blue collar worker and just trying to keep things together for his family. And we didn't have all the extras that kids so often have these days. We just got by. And things like playing card games and just hanging out as a family and having that unit, as I say, it was really a blessing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a good friend. His name is Scott Higgins, and I used to work with him at Sleep Train years ago, and he was the last of 9 kids.
Oh, wow.
Family. And it's funny because the reason I found that out was that we were at a restaurant one day, and he's gonna hate me for telling the story. We were at a nice restaurant with a bunch of people. and the appetizers came out, and he just starts grabbing stuff, like as if he was like starving to death or something. I remember looking at him like, dude, there's plenty of food to go around here. Like, it's not gonna run out. And I said something to him. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man. Bad habit." He's like, "I was the last of 9 kids, so he's like, if you didn't get in there and grab, like, you may not eat." And so just here he was,
Exactly.
all these years later, successful guy, and he still, like, couldn't shake it, which is really funny.
Got to exert your influence, right?
Yes, yes. So to give a little backstory, imagine you're on an elevator. It's a big elevator. Let's say you're in Dubai in one of these crazy buildings, right? And you get to the top floor and someone walks in, you meet them. "Hey, I'm the CEO of Arizona Helping Hands." Someone asks you, "Hey, what is it? How do you sum up Arizona Helping Hands?" And you got about 60 seconds, right? Come down to the elevator. So how would you sum it up for the audience who doesn't know about your organization?
Yeah, Arizona Helping Hands is the largest provider of basic needs to children in Arizona's foster care system. So everything from beds and cribs and clothing and diapers to personal care packages to celebrating birthdays for children in foster care whose birthdays oftentimes, just due to circumstances, come and go unknown and uncelebrated. We're trying to raise those kids up. We're trying to give them hope. And most importantly, we're trying to give them those basic needs that will fill their lives with some substance, some safety, some comfort. Just having your own bed to sleep on, right? How important is that, especially to children who have been victims of abuse and neglect? So Arizona Helping Hands does all those things and so much more to help children in foster care.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, we'll go into our history a little bit later, but I know
Yeah.
I was always just, so inspired when we would go into your office in the facility, because every time we are there, there's a different company there, different people that were back in that room making these personal happy birthday cards or graduation cards. Like, everything you do was so personal to these kids. It wasn't just, "Hey, I'm gonna give them a backpack." It's, "No, I'm gonna get them a bag, and then I'm gonna find out what they do, and then I'm gonna fill it with cool stuff and make them feel special, and that someone out there cares for them and sees their work and their value." So that's always been the part of it that I've always felt is kind of next level for what you guys do.
Yeah, especially in these days of COVID, we've had some separation from our clients, right? There was a time where we were, putting in items out on the back parking lot and say, "This is your stuff, come pick it up." We're trying to keep our team safe, our small team safe, and still help families however we could. As we come back, right? As society starts to recover from this horrible pandemic, hopefully, in a much greater way as we move forward, we're now trying to figure out how we can add value to every client interaction. So if you pulled up to our warehouse today, in the back now, there's this sign up that says, we know that you have requested clothing and diapers and a bed and a crib, but do you need school supplies for your children who are now going back to in-person learning? Do
Yeah.
you need extra diapers for the baby that you just received? We received a wonderful donation of Patagonia jackets and outerwear. So, can these things help your family, and how can we make a bigger difference in the lives of these kids? That's what we're trying to do every day, is to make the biggest impact that we can on a child's life. And when you meet these kids, when you talk to these parents and hear the stories, you just gotta sit back and say, thank you, God, that my situation is different than that. My kids are safe and loved. But you always have to think outside of that, and think about those other kids who don't have those same blessings.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you said when you sit back and hear their stories, because they come in and you do hear a lot of stories, and that's obviously the premise of this podcast is, getting to know you, getting to know the organization, getting to get some backstory, and I love to do that through story. It's the best way that I learn and kind of absorb information, and this podcast is gonna get deep and emotional. I know it based on the content. So before we do that, I want to ease into a story here that's lighter, right? So think back, right? It could be any time in your career, CPA, or once you took over, and maybe the last 7 years at Arizona Helping Hands. But think about a story that you love to tell that was just really funny or entertaining, something that goes around the office or whatever.
Well, it's interesting in this social media environment, right? You're always trying to think about different ways that you can engage with an audience. So, something that I think is kind of humorous when my wife and my younger daughter played in the marching band in high school. And my wife and I manned the concession stand at the football games and used to interact with the kids, selling them the popcorn and the sodas and whatnot out at the football game. Well, one of my daughter's friends, I remember the first time, and then it became kind of this regular habit. She went running up to the concession stand and she said, "Hey, look, it's Anderson Cooper." So it became this kind of joke, some of the kids in my daughter's class would call me Anderson Cooper. I mean, I don't know if you see the resemblance or not, but I went gray at 28. So I've had this character of distinction, I'm going to call it, for many years. And to have her as a 16-year-old, this is going back 10 years, say, that's who you look like. So a little while back, we decided we'd play off of that a little bit. And I picked up a pair of, black rimmed glasses. Yeah. And we did a little video that's on our YouTube page of Danderson Cooper and the Ridiculous. And we, with the specific topic, that one video we did was talking about people who, during our holiday toy drive, who had the wisdom to donate, literally machine gun type toys to help children in foster care. And I was talking about how ridiculous it is that, these kids who are facing all these other challenges, those types of gifts were the things that were being donated to a children's charity. Yeah. The Nerf gun that shoots 32 bullets at a time. I understand it's the Nerf gun, but still, what's the mentality there? And consider the other challenges and circumstances these kids face. It was truly ridiculous. So anyway, playing off of that Anderson Cooper theme has been kind of interesting.
No, I love it. I love that story. Danderson Cooper, my new favorite broadcaster. I have one of you too, which was, and I'm sure you remember this, but so years ago we were doing a giving event in your warehouse. We were donating, I don't know, a couple hundred mattresses back when I was at Living Spaces with Revive, and I had seen a video of some company that had set this world record for like falling on mattresses. You remember?
Oh, and absolutely. So I knew where you were
video,
going.
and I had it in my head, like, at some point I'm doing this, and I remember we had brought in all these mattresses and they were all in the bag and they're all twin size. And so we lined them up with everyone who had volunteered to help that day. I don't know how many people, there's a lot of people. And we made ourselves like a long domino line. And every time you'd fall, you'd knock into the next person and we'd all just collapse down. I have that video somewhere. It's really funny too, because you yell out really loud. You're like, oh, you fall down. Oh, it was epic. So good.
That's a great memory. That's a great memory.
Oh man. So, all right. So as a CEO of a big company, a nonprofit, whatever it is, we don't win every time, right? And we struggle and we fail and we get back up, and I'd love to hear from you, like, what's a story of a time in your career where you failed, and then, how did you get out of it, or how did you get through it?
Well, I'm going to take you to a story which I think ties into this whole podcast concept, right? So if you asked me even 8 years ago what my biggest fear was, I would have told you it was public speaking. I would have told you that, public speaking was a much bigger fear for me than even dying. Right. I remember as a kid in high school, breaking out in a cold sweat if I had to, give a presentation from my class. Even as a professional CPA, getting up in front of people and talking was something that put the fear of God in me. I mean, I was literally a basket case over circumstances where I had to talk in front of other people, and so taking that personality and converting it into a CEO who's supposed to be the spokesperson for, a charity, and supposed to be able to do things like this podcast and, television interviews and videos and whatnot, is an entire life change. And, I've thought back a lot of times about, how different my life is today than what it used to be. And I truly believe that it's because, a match was lit. There was a passion that was kind of uncovered, and, meeting these families, seeing these children, understanding the impact that we have in their lives, has changed. It's been 180-degree change from this guy who, was fearful to talk to his teammates in even a business setting, to, somebody now who you have to rip the microphone out of my hand if you're giving it to me, because I got stories to tell and I got things to say. I've got to, I found something that has really, really lit me up, and, I've got a story to tell.
Yeah, no, I love it. So do you think that passion, for helping these kids, is that what drove you past your fear of the public speaking? Did you just kind of say, like, you know what, I know I'm scared, I'm nervous or whatever, but like the alternative is what? That I don't do it? I don't help the kids? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, so, it was really just, I think, understanding, as I said, that I have a story to tell, that there is an importance to sharing the work that we do and talking about the people and the kids that we're helping every day. And it was not a conscious decision, right? It was just, people would start asking me, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? How are you doing it? What is this all about? And, I had those answers. I knew what I wanted to say. I knew, again, those stories to share, and knew the importance of it. Meeting these families and kids who have been put in, horrible circumstances that really need our helping hands.
Yeah, can you think of one or two stories from early on, when you were in this temporary CEO phase and you're like, obviously, yeah, I'm just helping out for a little while, like, what were some of the stories of the people who came in that created you to, have that passion where you're like, hey, I can't do anything else?
Yeah, so Brett, I know I've shared it with you in the past, but, I'm not a deeply religious person. But, I know that there are forces bigger than us. And, in my world, the way I refer to it is that I don't believe that there are coincidences. I think that, when you're doing the right thing for the right reason, pieces fall into place, and good happens out of that. So, as I said, going way back in time to 2013, 2014, we were in this place where we shifted our mission to help children in foster care. I learned from friends of mine that we had reached out to, that Arizona was in crisis in its foster care system, that supports for these kids were not available. And a friend of mine that I'd worked in other charitable activities with pointed out to me, she said, there's no place in the state of Arizona where a grandparent like myself, who just got the call saying, hey, Grandpa, your daughter is in custody. She was cooking meth in the oven and now she's in custody. Your children are now wards of the state. They've been moved to the Department of Child Safety in Arizona, and they're here in our office. What do you want us to do, Grandpa? Do you want us to find a foster home or 2 or 3 foster homes that we could split these kids up into? Or do you have another alternative? So Grandpa is going to say, I believe most grandparents I have met would say, bring them to me. Bring them to me. I'm going to give them hope and safety. I'm going to make sure they're loved and supported. But what happens if Grandpa's, living on Social Security and doesn't have the means to even go buy a bed for that child to sleep on, something as simple as that, to even buy clothing and diapers and all the other things that go into raising a child? So we shifted our mission in 2013 to help those kids, understanding that there was that void, that nobody was there to do it. And again, going back in time, since I felt a responsibility, since I was the person who kind of shifted us towards that mission and that objective. And I started volunteering a little bit more time here. And I started meeting some of those folks that we were helping. And I can point to a day, a very specific day in the summer of 2014, where there were two connections that happened right after each other that were not a coincidence. And that was really, it was literally that night I went home and I said to my wife, hey, Cheryl, I'm a CPA. I have a little practice. I run a real estate trust, but something's really drawing me here, and I'm gonna offer my time to the board as until we can find somebody who can really lead this thing forward, because there's a need. Mm-hmm. So on that specific day, I met a lady. I refer to her as Gigi because she was a great grandmother, and Gigi, when I met her, was 74 years old. She was, had some physical issues. She was a little bit frail. She came to us because she was now the 24/7 parent to her 4 great granddaughters. Think about it, right? 4 great granddaughters. I mean, so 7, 9, 12, and 14 years old. Think about adding 4 kids to your life as a 24/7 caregiver in a moment. So, back at that point in time, before we had started to really connect with community and some businesses who have been so generous to us, we were providing recycled mattresses to the foster families that we worked with. So a charity here in town would take away the old mattress when they delivered a new one, and quote unquote sanitize it and wrap it. This was pre-bed bug days and everything else, and those were the units that we were giving out to Gigi and to others. And Gigi, while we were loading up that truck with those 4 mattresses and minimal supplies back then, she grabbed me in a bear hug. And she said, Dan, you just don't realize how important this service is to me and my family. She said, these girls have been, fighting over the sofa and sleeping on the floor. I haven't had a night to myself. And to have their own place to sleep, that alone gives these girls a little bit of dignity, gives me a little bit of sanity perhaps, but it makes my family a little more whole. Gigi said to me, she said, I grew up in the Midwest, and as a young girl, my mom died. My dad had been gone, but here we were, me and my siblings, we were orphans. She said after that happened, my siblings and I, there were 5 of us, were split up. We were scattered like the wind. One went out to an out-of-town uncle. Another one went to a church friend. She said, I have, of those 5 siblings, there's 3 of them I don't know, I've never connected with. She said, I'm not going to let that happen to these girls. She said, my health is gone. Physically, I can't keep up with these kids. Emotionally, I'm a wreck. Think of dealing with hormones of 4 young tweens and others who are, coming of age. Financially, at one point in time, I had a 401k. My whole life has been turned upside down. But she said, I can point to one thing. She said, these girls are safe and loved, and they're with me, and we are a family. And you guys are helping us, keep that family together. And as I say, that one moment, there was actually a second incident that same day, but to interact with those folks and to hear the impact that something as simple as a bed can have on the life of a child was a game changer for me.
Yeah, man, I knew you were gonna get me on this story. I was ready though, and I love it because you bring up something that is, I think, so crucial in your story, which is, we take so many different things for granted in life. So many of us who are blessed to have homes and roofs over our head and rooms and all these things, but I think we really take for granted what a mattress really means to somebody. Because if you've always had one, then you don't think of it in that terms. You just think of it as, hey, it's my bed and it's where I sleep. But if you've gone in time in your life without one, you think about it a whole different way, because not only is sleep so vital to us from a health perspective, but sleep is a mattress and a bed is really a sanctuary. It's a place where it's your refuge, it's your space, it's your thing. And so, when you tell those stories, it breaks my heart. I mean, obviously having two kids, thinking about, what would happen to these kids. My dad's 74, so that story resonates with me, because that's his age now, and I think of how much my parents helped me, already. Um, but I think at the end of the day, the key element here is that um, there is just so much need. And so, as you think about Arizona Helping Hands and what you guys have kind of done, was there a moment or a story that you can think of where you kind of looked around and were like, wow, like this is growing, like we're having, and I know it's hard to say success because it's like, what success means helping someone in a horrible position, so I get it from that perspective, but just from the side of it growing and becoming something more than you may have thought.
Oh, I mean, that happens every day, Brett. When we look at the number of children whose lives have been impacted by the work that we've done, it's staggering. We have now provided over 17,000. Think about that number. It's scary. 17,000 children in our state's foster care system with a bed or a crib since we started doing this in the summer of 2013. Every day we're providing birthday gifts to children in the foster care system. Every day, on average, even during the pandemic last year, we provided every single day last year, we provided 8 children with a birthday package. And these are kids who have, many of these children have never celebrated their own birthday. They might be living in a group home environment. And yeah, the group home will have their little August birthday party on August 2nd. But what happens on the 23rd when, your birthday rolls around? Nothing. So the numbers are phenomenal. I'm an amateur writer. I write a blog, and I try to share some stories and some impact pieces on the work that we do. And one of the stories that I wrote a while back was the Jerry Lewis. I refer to it as the Jerry Lewis phenomenon. Jerry Lewis, when he used to do his muscular dystrophy telethons every Labor Day weekend, would finish his telethon by saying, I don't want to be here next year. I don't want to have to do this telethon. I don't want there to be children who suffer from muscular dystrophy. I say the same thing, right? I'd love to think that our foster care system and children in foster care at one point in time could be a non-issue, could be something that nobody needs to worry about. But look at our society. Look at the challenges that we face. Look at the substance abuse issues and everything else that goes into play. Unfortunately, I don't think that that's in the cards for our society. I think that there will always be children in foster care. There will always be children that need our helping hands. And our objective, our goal is to do everything we can for those kids who need us.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you brought up, earlier about you don't believe in coincidence, right? These things happen. And I think that holds true with how we met, which was,
Yeah.
I'd had this idea about doing a buy one, give one program. Actually, it was actually after listening to a podcast. So I was listening to Guy Raz's podcast called How I Built This, which is on NPR. Awesome podcast where he talks to, CEOs and people that have been really successful, and he kind of gets their whole backstory. And he was talking to the guy who started Tom's Shoes. And so just going in the whole backstory of how he started it and how it came about and all these kind of things. And I remember thinking to myself, like, yeah, this would be a cool to do for an event for like a sales event for beds. Instead of putting them on sale, we do a giving event. And it was all just kind of in theory. And I remember talking to, my boss at the time and the CEO at Living Spaces about this idea. And and grow our living space. He's a very giving guy. He's very private about it, but he's very does a ton of philanthropy and was like, yeah, let's try it. Let's do it. I was like, oh, okay. So I remember I reached out to my friend Gina Davis, who works for Ticket to Dream up in Sacramento. And I said, hey, do you happen to know anyone in Arizona? And she's just like, yeah, there's this great organization down there, Arizona Helping Hands. Hey, here's a number of this guy, Dan. And that was it. It was like, it was just maybe 3 minutes, got this number. I'm like, okay. And I remember calling you just out of the blue, didn't no idea who it was. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing this thing. And would it help if we, donated some mattresses? And I remember you literally freaked out. You have no idea.
I did.
It would be all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, it's just, maybe a couple hundred mattresses. I just didn't think about it as that it was going to be this big deal. Because what I didn't know at the time was that, mattresses made up such a huge portion of the money that your nonprofit had to spend, because, you're getting all these different items and, some of them don't cost as much or some things get donated, but the mattresses, because at some point, to your point in your story earlier, you switched over to saying, hey, we need to provide people new mattresses. We don't want to be giving people recycled stuff or bed bugs infested stuff. So you had to buy them, but you're buying them wholesale and they're still costing you whatever, $150 a pop. And so just to get, and you were doing $2,000, $2,500 a year. I mean, that's taking an enormous amount of money. So I didn't know all that at the time, it was just an idea. But like you said, it just all happened to work out. And I think that, the lesson that I learned, and then I want to ask you about this specifically is, so we ran an event, and typically in sales, you run these events and you run a sales event to drive traffic to your store. But instead of running a sales event, discounting the product, right? So you're losing profitability because you got to discount the product. We ran the buy one, give one event. Hey, come in, buy these different products, and then we're going to donate to Arizona Helping Hands. We got your guys' logo, we had a little video, put it in the commercial, and lo and behold, in Arizona, right, we drove all this great traffic. Because so many people are touched by foster care, whether it's someone in their family, someone they know themselves, or they know it's an issue and they care about it. Or they don't care at all. Not that they don't care, but that's not a big thing in their life, but they still wanted to come in and support because at the end of the day, they were going to come buy a bed anyways. So now it just became this other thing where, hey, I'm going to buy this mattress anyways. But now because of that, hey, I feel great about my purchase because I know it's going to go to a foster kid, And what we discovered real quick was that we were driving the same amount of traffic as we would when we had these big discounts or these big sales. And this is, 4 years ago. And I think personally, from what I'm seeing, is I think this is only going to continue to grow, because millennials are taking over the major buying force, for a lot of markets. They're 30, 35, they're getting careers, they have jobs, they want to get nice things. And it's something that's very important for our younger generation who's coming into these roles is that they're working with companies who do give back and that do help, whether it's the planet or foster care or whatever the situation is. They want to know, is there philanthropy involved? And so, as you've been doing this now as the CEO the last 7 years, how have you seen that evolve?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to take you back again to a little bit of history lesson first. My becoming involved in charitable causes was a push from a managing partner at the CPA firm I worked for many years ago, who walked into management meeting one week and said, we're not going to talk about the normal things today, and we're not going to talk about billings and taxes and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about the fact that our community profit, or our business, our livelihood comes from our community. So each of us sitting in this room has a responsibility to share, to give back, to do something. He said, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's animals, if it's senior citizens, if it's kids in Africa, if it's children in foster care, go find something and get involved. And, that was my push into charitable activities. I was just doing my job, going to work, doing my thing. And, then somebody said, hey, wake up and think about the fact that, you wouldn't be getting a paycheck if your community wasn't giving you business. And therefore, you have an obligation to pay it back, to pay it forward, to do something to make our community stronger. Each of us has that obligation. So as I in this role, as I've had the opportunity to connect with Brett and others who have that heart and who understand how important social responsibility is at a business level, it's been so rewarding, so gratifying to partner up with companies who want to donate product, who want to volunteer time, who want to do collection drives, all these opportunities to truly demonstrate that you are part of something bigger, that there is an obligation to give back and to do more, and that a job is much more than a paycheck. And I think all of us have to take that to heart and try and figure out how each of us can play a bigger role in our community, and again share those blessings that we have, that we've worked for, and that we've accumulated. But don't think about necessarily the next toy that you need to buy for your child. How about a package of diapers for a child in foster care? There's so many ways that everybody can do something to make a difference.
Yeah. And I think, because I've seen it firsthand, for everyone out there who has a team, you've got a company, you've got a team, I don't care what role you're in, there's something unmistakable that happens when you get your team involved in the giving. So, you guys have set up this really cool little corporate office where companies come in and bring in their teams, leadership teams, corporate teams, whatever, to do these kind of different events. So tell me a little bit about that. What do they do when they come in generally?
Yeah, well, so first of all, obviously COVID changed all that.
Yeah.
And really put some significant burdens on our organization. We are very, very much a volunteer-driven organization. We utilized over 14,000 hours of volunteer time in 2019. In 2020, that number was slashed. It was less than half that number, and we still had the same obligations to fill in our clients' lives. So, COVID has been a really tough burden to overcome as an organization. But, we now, hopefully, with, the vaccine coming online, all other progress being made, we're hoping that, we'll return to a point in time where we can engage more with corporations. As of right now, we are allowing small corporate groups to come in and to, engage with us to do service projects, and just doing everything we can to teach people, to inform them, to educate them about the needs and simple ways that they can help out. So a typical volunteer engagement for us is to have, a number of people from an organization come in. We'll give them, a little orientation about who we are, why we're here, the difference that we make in everyday children's lives, and then we'll put them to work. And that work can consist of, going through a bin of donated clothing and removing price tags that because the product has been sent to us from, a major retailer, and we don't want anybody to take those things back to the store. So we remove the price tags, and we have to fold and sort and organize and put them out on the shelves. And the bottom line there is that those articles of clothing might be the second wardrobe that child has, having come into foster care with nothing but the clothing on their backs. Yeah. So, that simple effort, having that energy from a group of volunteers, it can make it all happen. And then our birthday program, coming back to that, our birthday program is our most intensive volunteer engagement. So we receive a sheet of paper that says that little Joey is turning 3 and Joey likes trains. Our volunteers will go shop among our donated toys and try and find the perfect gift for 3-year-old Joey. And of course, when they run across the Thomas the Train set, they know, another no coincidence is happening, right? Joey said he likes trains. There's the Thomas the Train set. They're gonna take that gift and gift wrap it and put it in a decorated bag to let Joey know that his birthday is special. And every volunteer that we have will tell you that, their heart is touched by knowing that they've played a role in letting Joey know that he's loved and that his day is special, and that, his circumstances might be a little bit different, but still, he's a 3-year-old boy and he should celebrate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, I want to wrap up talking about hope. And there's so many people, well, hopefully a lot of people listening, and even if there's not, even if it just touches one person, the message that I want to convey to people is, and because you just mentioned something about it, but whether it's foster kids, whether it's you know giving back to veterans in need, like, it doesn't matter what it is. In my mind, there's something about um, your inner currency that is so impacted when you're doing something for others. It's something you can't replicate. You can't manufacture it because it's real. And when you truly are doing something for the right reason, it has a way of making itself come back around. And as I've been interviewing these people around this recycled dreams concept and this theory and these different CEOs and these different businesses, this thing keeps coming back over and over and over again, which is people who suffer from depression and anxiety and all these different ailments. The thing that took them through was they started giving back. They started putting others like instead of themselves, and just to kind of fill this void. And what did they find? Like, oh my God, this became my saving grace. This became this new thing I had to do, because I realized that, at the end of the day, whether, things don't make you feel that way. Possessions don't make you feel that way. And when it comes to your teams and your employees and your companies, we all have this corporate DNA, and the companies take on a lives of themselves. And I can tell you firsthand, that when part of your corporate and company DNA is to give back, it really changes the outlook, I think, on how people view their job. And then in turn, that's going to always impact how they treat the consumers or their customers, right? And so tell us, like, what's a story from Arizona Helping Hands of one of these kids, maybe from a long time ago or something? What's a story of hope you could tell us, or a story of someone who overcame, based on some of this stuff? You have anything you can think of?
Oh, I can tell you stories all day long, Brett. But it comes down, as you said, one of our lines is that we bring hope to children in foster care. We bring hope in so many different ways. Providing a couple mattresses to a family a few weeks ago. He wrote us, the foster parent wrote us a note saying, those two little boys who received a brand new mattress asked when we got them set up if they could go to bed early that night. They wanted to lay down their head on their very own bed. Something, again, that we all take for granted. We gave out a couple bicycles to a family recently, and again, the comment that came back to us was, every day when I pick the kids up from school, the first thing they ask me is, can they go ride their bike? And I think of the stereotypical ET, right? Hopping on a bicycle, and the sense of freedom and joy that a bicycle gives you that these kids haven't experienced. Talk about giving a child hope, giving a child safety. That's what we're doing, and why we're here. Again, bring it back to where you were talking about, for a business to really get that message driven home, that it's the simple things that can change the world. Our founder, Kathy Donaldson, formed this organization as a tribute to her sister Patty, who is dying of cancer at age 33. And Patty's dying request was that Kathy go do one good deed a day. And if it's on the wall in our lobby out here, just do one good deed a day. Go do something for somebody else. It doesn't have to be anything splashy, anything that it can be something so simple. It can be something, as I said earlier, just pick up an extra package of diapers when you're at the store and donate it to a children's charity. Go on a social media Facebook page like Arizona Helping Hands and share it with somebody and say, hey, check this out. This organization's doing something really cool. Unless we're spreading the word and telling people about, the good things that are happening, a lot of people ignore it. It's not within their line of vision. So, my word of encouragement is just to ask everybody to do something, to think how, simple steps can keep us going forward.
No, I love that. And last thing for you is just, I think inherently people are good, and I think that inherently people, if given an opportunity, like want to do the right thing. They want to help people. I just think that a lot of times, as a society, we tend to overthink things and overanalyze things, and we make them bigger than they are. And it's going to be this whole ordeal, and I got too much going on or whatever it is. So uh, help me help people listening to take away that anxiety. Like, how easy is it to work with an organization like you? What could a company do that wouldn't take a lot of time, but that would help?
Yeah. So, interacting with companies, we do it on every level, from, having an opportunity to, do a podcast with a company to share, what the state of the world is in foster care in Arizona, and what, one organization is trying to do to make a difference. The public knowledge of these issues is really, something we need to work at constantly, trying to educate people about what's going on. From that, we engage with companies who will do collection drives for us, who will, be it, as I say, we do everything for children. So be it books, be it personal care items, be it bedding products, be it educational support and back to school support, all those elements. It's really easy to set up a Amazon wish list and say, go buy a few things for kids in foster care. We'll ship them right to Arizona Helping Hands. From there, we do the corporate engagement with, having companies come in and volunteer their time and energies to assist in our various programs. I think it's really true that, everyone can do something to help kids in foster care. That's a line you mentioned, the Ticket to Dream Foundation. They're great friends of ours and supporter of ours. One of their lines is that not everyone can be a foster parent. It takes a true dedication to step out and to open up your heart and your home to children who have been damaged, and try and save them. And that's why we have to support those foster parents. So not everyone can be a foster parent, but everyone can do something to help a foster child. And we provide those opportunities, and we look for those opportunities for individuals and businesses to engage and do just that.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Dan. I think that, my to sum all that up for anyone listening, I want to put it this way. Because this is how Dan impacted my life when I got to see this firsthand and got to see some of the families picking up the beds. And as you said, instead of thinking about giving as this big thing, you can boil it down to this. You could easily put out a can in your corporate office with loose change and save it for 3 months until you got 120 bucks. And that $120 would buy one mattress, right? But that one mattress, to Dan's point, is a kid who's right now on the floor, literally sleeping on the floor. Maybe never even had a bed, right? Maybe going from home to home to home to home, and now he's found this foster parent, or he's with a grandparent now, and he's and that one mattress can literally change a child's life, can change the value that they put on themselves, can change the safety they feel at night, for one bed for 120 bucks. So my encouragement to the people listening is stop overthinking this. We can give back in so many ways. It doesn't have to be huge. And I think as people start to just do it, they realize, like, oh my God, I'm getting more out of this than I even gave, because that's how giving works. And at the end of the day, there's amazing organizations like Dan's, who are really doing the work, putting all the money back into the kids. I've seen it firsthand. So if you're interested, look on Arizona Helping Hands on the website. You can connect with Dan. They do amazing stuff, but there's organizations like this throughout the country, so there's no excuse. Like, it's time to start, helping any way we can. And so with that, I just want to thank you for coming on, being vulnerable, being honest, and hopefully, motivating some people to get involved with foster kids.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for being you.
Hey, the only person I can be. All right, man. Appreciate it.